Are you ready to become awesomer? Hello everyone, this is Umar Hamid, your host, and welcome to the No Limit Selling Podcast, where industry leaders share their tips, strategies, and advice on how to make you better, stronger, faster. Get ready for another episode. So today I have the privilege of interviewing Annette Walter, the big enchilada at iEvolve Consulting. Love the name. Why did you pick iEvolve?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, thank you. First of all, good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored. I am so excited about iEvolve. The concept and the name and the brand of iEvolve was birthed in 2011 after I had sold my former company and exited from that. And someone had reached out to me on Facebook, a dear friend that said that they needed some operational help. And they didn't want to hire a full-time director of operations or a chief operating officer. And I told him that basically I would sit down and help him and basically look at what his day was and help him delegate.
So you wanted to go from like a normal car to a race car.
Yes, absolutely. Right. For an analogy there. Yes. And just to kind of get out of the weeds and get out of his own way. And we really looked at who was in front of him and what that looked like and really how he could grow, because sometimes you just can't see it. So I remember coming home and actually talking to my husband and saying, I think this is really something, because I feel so excited and like juiced and passionate about the work I did and what I helped him do. And I was like, he really evolved just in that session. I was like, I love that word, evolve. And I looked through, when you kind of start a business, you scratch out everything, you get all excited about a name. And iEvolve just really happened. And instantly I pictured the logo with the I and the circle around the E. Because we're all on an evolution, right?
Absolutely. So what's kind of curious is when we help other people, the insights we get on the craft, on ourselves. So as we help them, we evolve at the same time, right?
Absolutely.
And we get paid for it.
Well, it's interesting. And I also run a national business alongside iEvolve Consulting called Timber Industries. So I really feel so in it with my clients. And that's I think what is a big differentiator, is that I'm living these sleepless nights. I'm having the same aches and pains that they are, and of when to hire, who to hire, how to hire. So you always have to study the market, because the fun that we get to have in business is really that everything's changing.
Absolutely.
Whether it's the economy or technology or new ways of doing things, that's the fun part. And to be a constant learner like you are is really what makes us grow.
So here are some of the most important words I think ever thought of. One is relevance. And since the world is changing continually, it's so easy for companies and for people to lose sight of what is relevant now, and they're stuck in the past. So I think one of the things we do as great leaders is keep your finger on the pulse so you can stay relevant with your audience.
Right, and humble.
Yeah, and the other part is integrity. And integrity is such a cliche, but I think when you have really know who you are and what you stand for, that's timeless.
Yes.
But you need to know what that is.
Yes.
And I think if you got integrity for yourself and the business that you have grown, that is really important. And the last word I think is focus.
Yes.
Because it's so easy to get distracted or get caught up in ego.
Right.
And all kinds of pitfalls. But if you can do those three things, stay relevant, keep your integrity, and keep your focus, you can do amazing things. And that's what you help leaders do, right?
Yes, I do. And, each of them are such important parts. And I loved how you just summed that up. And it's so, the integrity piece, I think, is just the most important. They're all very, very equally, and it does sound like one of those platitudes, but it's something that lives in you.
Yes.
And if you always want to do good and serve good and really feel that, then nothing really else matters. Everything else will follow. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it's true.
It's true, but also if, let's say, integrity is all about being who you are, and if it is, I'm here to make a shit ton of money, and then you say...
You told me not to cuss.
Yeah, I did. I said I would edit your stuff out. My stuff's staying in. But if you bring on this veneer of, I'm here to do good and social change, and that isn't you, then you're being inauthentic. We have friends in our lives right now that have flaws. And so we can do one of two things about it. One, we can continue to complain about it. Two, we can not be friends with them. Or three, what we do many times is we accept that. I love all this other stuff, and that's not so much, but I happily tolerate it because I am a better person when I'm in this person's presence. And I think the same thing is true. Once we get who we are and what we want to build and why, I think it's so critical to stay true to that and not be seduced into, well, this is what I'm supposed to say and this is what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And so anyway, interesting.
Absolutely. Well, and I think to that point, to spin it around, the flip side, oftentimes clients out there and businesses out there, they are looking for a magic wand or a quick fix.
Yes.
Or they think they need a vendor for the wrong reasons. So oftentimes they aren't fully committed or fully understand that engagement, whatever it is, whether they're looking at SEO vendors or they're looking to hire a business development person. They think they need that because that's what they are sensing, but they really don't do that deeper work to really understand what it is. And that's where you can really save a ton of money and time and be more efficient. And that's really what the work is that I do that focuses on. It's like, wait a minute. Don't just say, okay, they're saying exactly what I need.
Absolutely.
Right? Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And I think very much what we need to pay attention to, I think, is our minds are so incredible, and the number one thing that we are gifted at as a species is rationalizing. And I think our body tells us the truth. And when we go to do something, when fear comes up, we're so trained that if fear comes up, anxiety comes up, that we shy away from it. When the very answer is on the other side of that. But we rationalize that I'm shying away from it. Oh, so I need a business development person. They're going to solve this magical problem. Where the problem might be, am I connecting with the right people with the right way? Because if I get somebody else that's good at connecting, but they don't connect with the right people. How many people do you know, as you're leading leaders of companies, that they hire that biz dev person only to be reluctant to fire them 6 months later when they should have done it after month one?
Yes, I've seen it happen too frequently. Absolutely. And they are actually approaching it in the traditional way.
Yes.
And sometimes you just have to mix it all up and go at it at a non-traditional way. At Timber Industries, we outsource our sales to San Salvador. So I know exactly what type of client we target with one particular product at Timber Industries.
And exactly what the message is that's been tested.
Exactly what the message is. So we have one dedicated person who is hyper-focused, geo-targeted, and just making productive calls for us. And it works for us. But I wasn't about to go and hire a high-paid salesperson for them to produce maybe a year and a half from then. I really knew exactly what I needed and wanted, so I broke down that piece.
Nice.
And segmented it. And sometimes when you just speak with a business owner about what that true need is, and you get smart about it, and you really just clear your head of the traditional ways of doing things, there's so many resources out there.
Brilliant. And I want to just backtrack a little bit, because I think you said something fundamentally important for life and for business, is you figured out what was needed and you broke down the components. And even though you're brilliant, I'm sure some of the things that you figured out were wrong. But because you made that process and broke it down, it's the only way to figure out what's broken.
Right.
We tend to shoot from the hip. And then when the thing doesn't work, the whole thing doesn't work, and we try different things blindly. But when you have that process in place, and a lot of people say, no, but I'm creative and I'm imaginative. No.
Yes.
Even
right.
art is a science. And so I think, breaking down that problem.
Yes.
And then you can test each segment to figure out, a lot of times when I do workshops, sometimes in my brilliance, things don't work out well over here.
Right.
And then I go, okay, I need to introduce this idea maybe over here and see if that makes a difference over there. So is it the idea here, or is it because I didn't actually do an introduction up there, and then I try that and either it works well or it doesn't, but because there's a process in place, I have a hope of figuring it out.
Right. Absolutely.
So how many business owners have you worked with in the last couple of years?
Oh, wow. It has been a healthy number in various industries and across the United States.
So a bunch.
Yes. And various size businesses, male, female, and various industries. It's been great.
Earlier on, we were just chatting about one of your children. How old?
He's now 9. Yes, my oldest is 9.
And his name?
Is Wyatt.
So Wyatt, when Wyatt is, let's say, 20-something, and he goes, I want to start a business. If there were 5 keys, you would say, okay. Because oftentimes, as leaders, we talk about, these are the things you need to know. But if somebody that we truly love dearly, we go, okay, this is what you really need to know.
Right.
So what would be the wisdom that you would impart on Wyatt to say, if you want to build a successful business, here are the critical elements you need to know?
Well, that's a great question. And Wyatt, I don't think Wyatt's going to wait until he's 20 to start a business.
Probably not.
He's already got a lot of great stuff going, which is really fun. We involve them in every aspect of building this company, whether they want it one day or not, but they really see what we're building and growing. In fact, they have their own business cards, and they're part of the team. So, but my advice would be to make sure that you are truly tied to the work you do.
Yes.
And, he has an extreme purpose right now with what he's going through in his life personally. He was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So his brain is just running 24/7 about how to make the technology better, faster, easier for kids. It's wild.
That is crazy. And
I don't want to take us off the rails.
No.
Though.
I mean, it's all interconnected, right? So go deeper into that you're connected with the business. What do you specifically mean about that?
Well, I really see entrepreneurs struggle with 2 things mainly. Number 1, they are so highly creative and have so many business ideas that are constantly coming to them that they either don't have enough space to create and the team around them to do what they do well, or it's becoming that they're so cluttered and can't even think straight to build the team around them. And then the other side of that, number 2 of that, is that they're practitioners who put on the business hat. So experts in their field, and they organically think that the next step is to become business owners. And that, again, takes them away from their trade, their expertise, and then their true passion, and they're putting on a different hat altogether, and that makes them miserable.
I was watching this show like a million years ago because I'm going to talk about something called Lotus 123.
Okay.
It was like the granddaddy of spreadsheets way back when.
Yes. Oh, yes, I do remember that.
And so the guy that developed it, when it became a real company and started to grow, I believe that he stepped aside and brought in another CEO to take over because it was like, I don't enjoy that stuff. I want to be creating. And so he had the wisdom of bringing somebody in that was good at managing. It's a different skill set. And you don't see that all that often where people say, hey, this is the lane I want to play in. This is where I add the highest value.
Yes.
And so that's number 1, being connected with what you're doing.
Yes.
What else should people know?
I would say something that scares you enough and excites you enough that you want to make an impact in that field and in that market and in that space, but also drives you enough to get past that fear.
Brilliant.
And that would be number 2, which is kind of, I guess, a little bit like number 1. What was number 1?
But it's distinct. It was, really being connected to what you're doing.
Yeah, it's connected. Yeah. So, yes.
But having enough passion that it allows you to overcome the fear and move forward. And that's called courage, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I got choked up there for a second.
And we know that too well, right? So, and I think the third thing would be being able to have a space where you are humble, especially when I see this in both men and women. We have this tough armor on.
Yes.
And we think that we need to know it all, do it all, be it all. I felt this way in my early banking days. I felt like I had to kind of play the part and be all,
right,
corporate and everything. And now being on the flip side of things, where it is truly where I belong, I appreciate my path and everything that it taught me. And I wouldn't change anything on my path, because of everything that I learned. But who I am today is so different than who I thought I had to be.
So just to kind of add to that, I think we all have three faces. We have this face that we show the outside world, and I call that the illusion. And sometimes it's what you described. We have this armor on. I am strong, powerful, sophisticated, sexy, whatever that thing is. But also there's other people that have this illusion. They show the outside world, look at me, I'm broken, I'm tragic, I won't amount to anything. Then we have something worse. I think I call it the delusion. This is who I think I am. And oftentimes it's quite different than what we portray to the outside world.
Right.
And it takes a lot of effort to balance the two. And then we have this third spot, that's the authentic self.
Right.
And I think leaders, when they achieve true power, is when they uncover who they are. Absolutely. And then they can just be. And then there is no more delusion of this is who I think I am. If they're brave enough, then it becomes that.
Right.
And if they become braver still, this is what they show the outside world. And when you do that, people around you feel so comfortable in your presence because there isn't that angst of trying to balance the three. They may not know what it is, but they can just sense, I feel comfortable in your presence.
Right.
And we also feel comfortable in our presence, and that allows us to do spectacular things.
Absolutely. Right. And no one wants to feel at the end of the week like they were on all week and that they're exhausted, that when they get home with their families, then they're just spent. And there's so much power in fully understanding, being open to growing towards that, and really showing up in all aspects of your life as your fun, authentic self. Because
and you may not be fun. You may not be fun.
Right. Well, I was just
but
talking
your
about
authentic
us.
self. You're just talking about, absolutely. And
we like to have a lot of fun around here.
Because for me, that's important too. For me, as I look at my values, the highest value is learning cool stuff. Brings me no end of joy.
Curiosity, right?
Also, having fun is important. And one thing that was missing from my list that I am purposely putting in there is money. Because it just wasn't that important. Like, there's always been enough money. But it just wasn't on that list. And this year, consciously, I'm saying, okay, put that in the values because it's an important thing to have.
Yes.
But when you do that, you get to be yourself. Also, when you're yourself, there's going to be some people out there that think you're an idiot. But when you're pretending to be somebody else and people like you, then they don't really like you. And there's still going to be people that think you're an idiot. So you might as well be yourself and find that authentic connection.
Right.
So we've just met. And I'm not sure about you, but I really get this sense of kindred spirit. And it feels like we've known each other for a good long while.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It was, it's interesting when you do really connect with people, and I really care about the work that you're doing and about what you're going through and your path. And I'm so happy we have the opportunity to do this. I want to just go back to what the about the money thing, because I think that's interesting. And I have shifted my mindset. I hope it's okay if we talk about this.
Oh, of course.
So I have shifted my mindset into really the value. I think it's more about value of fulfilling and delivering and translating the value of the work that you do. And I don't know how that is different than money or not.
Let me pause you right there. So that's
exactly,
actually, so when somebody hold that thought. If we go to a room full of salespeople, 100 salespeople in the room from all different companies, large companies, small companies, independents, and you ask them this question: please complete this sentence for me. Money is, and then someone will say, powerful,
Okay.
sexy, amazing.
Right.
And then someone else will say, root of all evil, causes fights,
Okay.
makes you sleazy. Guess which list ends up being larger?
I would say the latter as a
By
guess.
2 or 3 times.
Okay.
And these are salespeople that, money is really important to them.
Right. I'm picturing like the Wolf on Wall Street right now.
Yeah. And so there are the beliefs in society around money, and we absorb those.
Right.
And so when we don't have a good relationship with money and somebody says something crazy like what you're talking about, you should sell on value, you know what happens? Those people cave in on price all the time. But when you have a good relationship with money, you can authentically sell on value. Because when you don't have a good relationship with money, then you're basically trying to be a salesperson and, well, the
Survive
value.
and right. Yeah.
So we've all seen this. Well, you're getting this much for this program that's $10,000 and this, and you see that stacking up of stuff, which is inauthentic. But when you're authentic and you feel comfortable with money, you can say, how much is this problem costing you?
Right.
How I can help you solve it quickly. If I help you solve it quickly, what's that worth for you? And most people will say that's worth a lot. And it's better to sell on value than discount what you're worth.
Right.
But you can only do that if you feel comfortable in your skin
Right.
and you have a good relationship with money. Because if you don't have that, then the value conversation doesn't go in the right direction, because a person can sense, I'm picking up a vibe that's not real, or
Good.
there's something
Right.
makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm going to hold back.
Right.
So they're related, and I think the highest manifestation of you having a good relationship with money is you can authentically sell on value. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what it's worth. So I'm going to ask you one last question before we part company.
That went fast.
So, yeah. I forget the name of the drug manufacturer. They have a cure for Hep C.
Okay.
So if you have diabetes, this is a lifelong condition that you need to take drugs for
Type
the rest of
1
your
is,
life, and you go for a really long time. So this company comes in and says, look, we are going to cure Hep C. I'm not sure whether it's 30 days or 90 days, one of the two, but it's going to cost you $90,000 to cure it. And there is such an uproar in society that how could you charge that much money for this? And they're saying, look, we are curing this for you.
Right.
And so that really is an interesting thing to look at, right? Because you and I are talking about value and in the business sense, but does your thinking change? Because then you go from a business sense to go to a mom
Right.
or a human being,
Right.
and it's about medicine.
Right.
Does that value system change? Do you think there's a different set of rules?
Well, I love where you're going with this, and I think it's so interesting. As a mother who has a child going through type 1 diabetes, the first thing that my husband and I said is, can we give him our pancreas? What can we do? So I think that, and I always come from the mindset of, we will figure it out, we will do whatever we can to make this better for our children, to make a better life for our children. So, and I don't get scared or have fear about that, because I trust and believe that much in us to always hustle and always work and get through that. And, but that was one of the first things that we said was, well, can we have this and not him? How do we take this away from him? But after we realized that it's an autoimmune that would attack another pancreas in his body, or that's why artificial pancreases haven't come so far, because that actual autoimmune within his body that would probably shut it down again. That's when we go to resilience and heart and his purpose. And, he was chosen for a reason. God chooses his soldiers very carefully. And I think that he really has his moments of upset, but he really is persevering through this and is going to make a difference. It's pretty cool to watch.
High five for him. And this is where I'd like to depart our conversation. Is that when we uncover our purpose, every single human being on planet Earth has a purpose, why they're here. When we uncover that, like there's this quote from Mark Twain that people kind of banty about, the 2 most important days in your life, the day you're born and the day you figure out why.
Yes, I just read that the other day.
I come at it from a very authentic fashion. And I know there's this whole big movement, what's your why? If your company doesn't have a why, it won't survive.
Right.
From my point of view, what a bunch of bullshit. Because a lot of times people come in and they come in with this artificial why of what they should be doing. And I think life is all about being authentic. If you can uncover your authentic why, it's your company, make that the mission for the company, absolutely 100% hallelujah. But when you have a consultant coming in and you take a look at, we're going to talk to your customers and your employees, and I'm a futurist, and it's like, excuse the hand gesture, but it is just such a waste of time. Annette, the time flew by. It was such a joy chatting with you, I know. And what I want to do is to get people to come find you and have a short installment where we have this conversation. Okay. So how can people come connect with you?
Oh, absolutely. So if they want to email me, they can email me at iEvolve
give me another high five. I love it.
Because people out there do rock, and they deserve to really find their purpose, and it's pretty cool.
It's so Flintstones. I love it.
Yeah. And on Instagram, I am at iEvolve Daily, and I'm also on LinkedIn under Annette Walter, www.ievolveconsulting.com. We've got a great Facebook group called Masters of Entrepreneurship. That it's a private closed book, but we post to that pretty often. I go live in there, and it's a great platform. I think that social media is just so fun and a great way to hang out with people. So it's great. But thank you so much. Honestly, thank you for this conversation, and I'm just so grateful.
I'm going to ask you one last question, and it is it's a weird question.
Okay.
So feel free not to answer it.
Oh gosh, you're making me nervous.
So as a businesswoman and a leader, what is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear?
Other than spiders.
Wow. My biggest fear. I would have to say, I just feel I don't even know. I don't think I have a lot of fears. But if I guess I had to pick one, I fear, honestly, that I won't be able to serve enough people. That my message and my purpose, once I do the work, it's such on iEvolve Consulting, obviously, timber's more of a commodity base, but iEvolve Consulting, I know the work that I do, and I know I'm only one person, so I can't clone myself, but I'm working on ways to clone myself to get out there to serve more people. So
serving a bigger audience.
Yes, yeah. I fear that more people need this, and I just want to be able to get to them. So I don't know if that's a fear or
no. That's a fear is a good word for it. It might be labeled something else, but thank you for sharing that.
Yes. I mean, I'm not really that much afraid.
You just met me.
Right. Am I? I don't know what I'm afraid of.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming, and that is the fastest way to get better results.